All right, guys. Thanks for your patience. We got Kenny Sanders. We'll get started here with Tyler Donahue. Go ahead, Tyler.
Thank you, Kenny. How you doing today? Congrats on getting the signing day.
Oh, Kenny's muted.
Hey,
Sorry
Kenny.
about that. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask about someone I think you've known longer than anyone in the class, and Jeff Exeter Jr. I caught on the live stream. You mentioned watching some Pee Wee football, and knowing back then you had to have him. I know you were kind of tongue in cheek on that, but can you kind of describe your history with Jeff Exeter? What it means to continue the McDonough pipeline, and ultimately what kind of player you're adding at receiver?
Yeah, obviously I've known Jeff since he came into this world. His uncle and I grew up together, both went to McDonough. He went on to have a career at Delaware, went to a smaller school for basketball, went to a smaller school in Texas, and then played overseas for some time. Had a really good pro career. No, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but I've known his family, his grandmother, his grandfather, his mother, who was one of my best friend's sister, for a very long time. So I've known about his character, where he comes from. So that was a really easy, I don't want to say easy recruitment, but from a standpoint of what he is, knowing who he is, that was easy for us because that was already out of the way, knowing that he would fit the Penn State culture. Part of that is obviously me knowing who he is, but the reason why we do recruit and do well with a lot of McDonough players is because I think the same reasons why a young man would go to McDonough align with the reasons why he would want to come to Penn State. Have a foundation for academics, want to do really well athletically, and then the stewardship when it comes to, community service, being active in the community, all those things kind of align with McDonough and Penn State. And me being a graduate from there, I kind of have the inside baseball tip and I know all those things. So I'm able to kind of really shape the recruitment to kind of align with the things that already are reinforced at McDonough that also align with what we do here. So continuing that pipeline is really, really key. The head coach there, Hakeem Sule, is doing a really good job recruiting quality young men into his program. And we're just going to keep on evaluating those guys and seeing the ones that fit and try to keep on attacking coaches in the area of the footprint that align with what we're doing here. Not just that school, but Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, of course, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, all New England, all of those programs that, fit what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring all of their best players to Penn State.
Let's go to Ryan Snyder, followed by Daniel Gallon.
Thanks, Kenny. Want to ask about two Maryland guys. Ivan Kemaju, excuse me, had a really good senior season. James mentioned that in the live stream today. Also, Cortez Harris. He was limited. I don't think he only played in like 4 or 5 games this year, but just what kind of stands out to you about those two?
Those are two defensive linemen, two defensive ends that, you know, our history, especially with Coach Barnes in the last few years, has been really getting after the quarterback, no matter who the defensive coordinator is. And those are two guys that are gonna, add to that legacy. Um, Yvonne and Cortez have a really good skill set, and they're going to be developed here by one of the best D-line coaches in the country, and Deion Barnes, along with Torrance Brown and Coach McInerney. And then, those are guys that are not finished products yet, but are looking to achieve and get better at football. They're already really talented, as you can see from the film. I know that Cortez had a setback, but before that, he was on his way to having an unbelievable senior season. And we're just really excited about those guys and what they can bring to the D line room. When you look at how we've recruited not just this class, but the classes before that. I mean, there's another guy that was supposed to be in this class that's already here that also has an unbelievable skill set to get after the quarterback. So we're just stacking those guys, and we're going to be a terror when it comes to opposing quarterbacks going forward for as long as we're here, and we continue to build on that and want to keep it going for as long as we can.
Let's go to Daniel Gallon, followed by Seth Engel.
Appreciate your time today, Kenny. When you look at Malachi Goodman on the offensive line, what stands out about his skill set that fits with how Penn State has been developing some of these guys the past couple of years?
I mean, Malachi is a guy that we targeted really, really early. I know that kind of early on in his recruitment, he wasn't super highly rated, but we always really viewed him in high regard. I think his rating kind of got bumped up as time went on, but regardless of that, I mean, he's a guy that can play a lot of positions on the offensive line. He's got unbelievable length. He's powerful. He's athletic. He's right around 6'6", a little bit over 300, but he carries the weight well. He's a guy that any offensive lineman coming from high school to college is going to be somewhat developmental just because you're getting into a brand new way of training and your body's going to change. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that is going to gain a ton of weight or even lose a ton of weight, but I think what you're going to see is kind of that ratio, body fat, all those things that come from being a kid growing into a man is going to change. And so his body will be different. But he is an unbelievable prospect in the sense that he's got really good position flexibility. We see him as a tackle, but he's going to have the chance to get on the field early because he can do some other stuff with just the way he plays and his power and his athleticism and his bend, all those things that matter to playing that position. And he already has really good size. So um, we're fired up about him as well, obviously. And we think he's going to be really able to contribute at a high level pretty early in his career.
Go to Seth Engel, followed by Mark Brennan.
Hey, Kenny, thanks for the time.
Yep.
In a year where people are kind of questioning the risk and value of a Big Ten title, as someone who's kind of been through this before, has won a championship game and seen the aftermath, how can, winning that game and knocking off the number one team in the country potentially, impact recruiting?
Um, I think any chance, I'm gonna answer that in probably a different way than you expect. We want to recruit kids that want to win. I mean, the idea of not going to having the opportunity not to go when you do is crazy to me. Like, this is what we're here for. We're here to win a Big Ten championship first, and then win a national championship. First goal is to go 1-0, then stack those, hopefully be 1-0 every week in the regular season, win a Big Ten championship after that, then win a national championship. So this is the next phase of it, and what I see from this is impact in recruiting is if we are bringing in the right type of kids, they understand that, and that's their goals too. We can never shy away from competition. That's not how the world works. That's not how football works. We got to meet every challenge head on, and I think we're positioned in the best spot to do that. This is what we worked for. We want to have an opportunity to play the number one team in the country. We want to have an opportunity to win a Big Ten championship. That will definitely impact recruiting in a positive light because we're going to be able to showcase our skill at a time when we're the only football game on television. They're going to get to see how we coach. They're going to get to see how we play offense, defense, special teams. They're going to get to see, what Penn State has to offer at a national level. So being in that game is a tremendous opportunity for us to go ahead and play a really good Oregon team that, everyone, has, slated as number one, but, we feel really confident about what we're bringing to the table. It's a unique experience for me coming from Oregon. And getting to see some of those guys that I recruited when I was there. They're older now, but it's a really good team, and we love the opportunity to go and play the number one team in the country. I think if anybody that we're recruiting has a problem with that, we probably shouldn't be recruiting them. That's what we're in the job for, to do things just like that, and we're lucky to be in this position.
Let's go to Mark Brennan, followed by Max Ralph.
Hey, Kenny, thanks for your time today.
Yep.
Hey, the recruitment of Brady O'Hara, was that somebody you guys looked at initially as an old lineman, or did that kind of evolve as he kind of evolved physically? And where do you see him? How do you see him making that transition? Because he definitely played different positions this year.
Yeah, I think early on we weren't sure, but we just knew that this was a really good athlete with really good size in the state of Pennsylvania that we needed to have as a part of our roster. There were a lot of talks with Brady, tight end, offensive line, even defensive line a little bit early on, just trying to figure out where he fit. We settled on offensive line because just the way, like you said, his body developed. He has the length to do it. Athletically, we think that's probably the best fit for his long-term success. And, we were very open and honest with him about it through the recruitment process. And he really, you know, he was really excited about doing that. At the end of the day, you want to recruit players and put them in positions to do the things that they want to do. And because you think they'll thrive when they're, happy in their role. So, he was up for playing offensive line, and we're happy to have him as an offensive lineman in this class. And the fact that he's able to play high school tight end, like that's a bonus. As you guys know, a lot of the really good NFL left tackles, right tackles, they played tight end in high school, so it's not that far fetched for us. And there was kind of always something we were just going to let nature take its course. And once we kind of saw, okay, this is where it's going, we trust in Chuck Losey and his staff down in the strength department and nutrition, Leanne Loudon, all of those sports science, Nelly, all those guys do a really good job of building the pieces once they get here. So once we'd settled on offensive line, it really wasn't that big of a deal. He kind of saw it too. His family saw it too. And now we're just working on getting him into the best position to help us win football games.
Let's go to Max Ralph, followed by Greg Pickle.
Hey, Kenny, thanks for the time. Want to go back to the D line. We talked about Cortez and Yvonne, but Randy, you guys had to fight off Miami for that one. And just what does he bring to the table?
In Randy, you're getting an interior defensive lineman with tremendous power. If you look at his film, you can see some twitch, the movements. He's a guy that's played a lot of football at a high level down there in that conference. And it's funny when you look at it because he's a true inside guy. Like, we're not flirting with him on the edge. He's going to do the dirty work. He's going to be playing that 3 tech, maybe a little 0, whatever it is that the defense calls on that inside, between the guards and over the center. So we love the fact that he was able to play at a national schedule at Miami Central against top level talent each week. And when you look at just his athletic movements on the inside, his power, his strength, all those things. There's a clip on his highlight out there where he kind of bursts through the line, gets through, uses some power, and then has to kind of stop on a dime, turn around, and chase down the back. Like, those are the things that get you excited about that guy. And again, I can't stress enough, Deion Barnes is a teacher. He spent some time as a trainer before he got into coaching, and some of that's still in him. So all of those raw tools that Randy has are just going to be magnified when he comes here working under Deion Barnes. So his potential, to me, playing on the inside for Penn State in the style of defense we use, I think he's going to, have a tremendous career here.
Let's go to Greg Pickle, followed by Mason Smith.
Kenny, there was probably a point in time a few years ago, or maybe when you started in this business, that after you signed a recruiting class, you could take a breather. But of course, that's not the world we live in 2024. So with class of 2025 guys still not signed in places, the transfer portal, class of 2026 and so on, what tops your priority list now that you got this group signed today?
I think right now, the focus is going to just go to the transfer portal just because it's opening on Monday. And that's like the next big thing. Seeing if there are guys that are in right now, you can read online and see what rumblings are going on out there about who might be going in. But we're just trying to see if we have any needs, kind of evaluate our own roster. We've been doing that for a little bit. But the good thing about being here at Penn State is we're not a big transfer portal team. We really value the development aspect of getting guys out of high school, working through our system, and, working their way onto the field from a high school level. So the transfer portal, although I'm going to kind of shift my focus there, is really not going to be a tremendous endeavor for me. We're gonna look at guys that we think can come in and help us, but at the same time, we've built a really good roster that we feel good about. So I wouldn't say there's not a ton of need there, but if we find that someone can help us for next year, then we're going to explore that. So that's kind of where the focus, I think, is going to go immediately. Well, before that, the focus is going to go to beating the Oregon Ducks in the Big Ten Championship. And then once that portal opens and we see who goes in, we'll kind of get focused on that.
Let's go to Mason Smith.
Thank you much for your time, Kenny. Obviously, with a sport like football, you can't teach size. Lyric Samuel definitely has that about 6'3", 6'4". But how do you and the staff kind of envision him developing over his time at Penn State? That way, his measurables are an addition and not just the only thing he has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, Lyric is one of the more exciting prospects, I think. You know, as you said, the size is there, but just the athleticism too, his movements. Um, we think as good as he is athletically, he's still a little bit of a raw, untapped gem. We're super excited about him. He's a bigger body, but he does have some of those movements that you think he can do some of the stuff the little guys do too. Um, I think the sky's the limit for him as far as it comes to being a receiver because no knock on New York football, but it's not the best ball, and I think that he can still reach a lot higher goals once he gets into our program. Again, like the weight room, the nutrition, all those things matter when you get to this level. And then just the level of coaching. When you go from high school to college, it's just the focus is different. You have more time on it. When you're hearing just the expertise of what our coaches are going to be able to give to him to see him reach his potential. He's a hardworking kid that comes from a really, really good family. And his program is actually one of the better programs, especially in New York City. Coach Lambert does a really good job year in and year out. But it's just the amount of time that he's going to have focusing just on football and academics at this level. He's going to explode once he gets here. So the size will always be there. You can't coach that, but everything else, those resources that we're going to be able to pour into him. I mean, don't be surprised when you look out there in a couple of years and he's one of the best receivers in the Big Ten.
We got time for two more. Let's go Tyler Donahue, followed by Ryan Snyder.
I'm going to get greedy here, Kenny, and throw two names that are pretty much unrelated to you, but time is of the essence. So I'm curious just to get your take on Beckham Kritza and kind of the unique angle of him being a high school prospect with a bunch of power offers that didn't have a lot of tape to go off of comparatively. And then Matt Henderson at tight end. I know he's spent a lot of time at receiver, more so at the high school level, but how does he kind of compare to some of the tight ends you've brought in the past, and what do you see as his path?
All right. You want me to do Beckham first?
Whatever you'd like to do.
All right. I know I've had conversations with some people on this call, and they know how I feel about Beckham Kritza. I think that kid's unbelievable. I mean, when you look at what he can do with the football, with not a ton of like training, he doesn't have like a QB guy or anything like that. I think I told somebody once, he might have the best raw arm talent I've ever seen coming out of high school, just throwing off platform. And he doesn't like, he is such an unpolished gem, in my opinion. I think that I could probably spend an hour just talking about what I think Beckham Kritz is going to be, once he gets here. But for me, he's going to be someone that really thrives in the structure that we're going to provide. Danny O'Brien, he's the QB whisperer at this point. He's going to be able to take that ball of clay and mold it into something super, super special. He has unbelievable size from a height standpoint. Again, going back to the training, the weight room, and all those guys, they're going to do their number on Beckham Kritza. It's probably about 200 pounds right now. He'll be 240 in 2 years. And the arm talent, again, unmatched. Like, you show me a quarterback in the class, in any class, with a better raw arm talent than that kid. Once we polish that up, once he gets in our system, and once he has stability and he's able to just focus on that, as you guys know, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster in his life, but now he's going to have some stability to focus on the things that matter and to get him prepared to play in big time college football. So I'm super excited about what's in store for that kid. And Matt Henderson, he's growing into a tight end. He's kind of lived his life as a big receiver, and now he's kind of has a home at tight end. And I think that absolutely fits what we're doing. We've kind of, it's funny, we're having, obviously the year Tyler Warren is having is unreal, but you go back to, Jesse James, Nick Bowers, Pat Fryermuth, Mike, like, we've always had elite tight ends since Coach Franklin's been here, and they're all a little bit different. And I think Matt Henderson, coming from the background that he has, also being a basketball player, also being a coach's kid, like he's so smart. He understands football. He's just as good on the other side of the ball in high school as he is on offense. Um, that kid is probably going to. I'm trying to compare him to one of those. He's a little bit of a mix of some guys, but the athleticism there, the size is there. He's another kid that's going to benefit from the weight room. And once he stops playing basketball, his body's going to explode. Like no one's doing tight end coaching the way Ty Hal's doing. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. But that that kid's that kid's ceiling is another one that's just, he's going to benefit from getting bigger, stronger, faster, but he already has really good numbers. And his athletic IQ, his football IQ is going to take him to levels that I think are going to help him at this stop in his life. But I definitely see him as a Sunday guy that's going to get better when he gets here.
Got time for one more. Go ahead, Ryan.
Thanks, Kenny. I think Owen Alicini and Michael Troutman are the only two guys that we have not asked somebody about in these last three calls. I'm not sure how involved you were with those guys, but they're both pretty good offensive line prospects. Can you share a little bit on what you think of them?
Yeah, so you got an interior guy and the tackle. Um, Michael Troutman, what an unbelievable kid. His family, I mean, they kind of reminded me. We had a kid from Ohio. I'm blanking on his name. He played center here for us. You guys probably know, but he came to every single game. He was when before we recruited him. Michael was the same way. Um, I think that kid coming from the program he does, he's played a ton of football. He's super smart. He can play all three positions on the inside. Um, and he's all the way bought in, man. Like the thing about when you get those positions, especially O line, that you're really not expecting a lot out of freshman year. Same thing with Owen too. It's just hard for a freshman offensive lineman to come into big time college football and make an impact just because of the physical toll. So you need guys that are going to really embrace the work ethic, the grind, and those two guys definitely have that. They both come from big time programs that know how to get you ready to play ball, and they're both really dedicated, and they couldn't be more opposite from a player standpoint. But when it comes to what it takes to be an elite offensive line at this level, they both have that. Owen is out to prove something. He's a big old boy that's got length and size, and he's more athletic than people probably think. And I think once he gets in our program, he's another one that he doesn't necessarily need the size so much, maybe a little bit more bulk, but he's gonna explode because the work ethic, like you need that to in this day and age where there's so many kids that are taking the easy way out because things are hard. And I think that's a credit to Coach Franklin. We're so honest and upfront with everyone we recruit about what it's going to look like when you come to Penn State. What is it going to require to be successful? It doesn't work for everyone. We don't get some kids because of that. Maybe we scare them off. But at the end of the day, is we attract guys that want to embrace that grind. And Michael Troutman and Owen, those are two guys that are going to really dive into becoming the best football players they come because they already do. They work hard at their level, and they're excited about coming here, and we're excited to have them and working hard at this level to get on the field.
All right. Appreciate your time, Kenny. Appreciate everyone for joining us.